This episode will teach you how to import packages into your project. Packages are kind of like ready-made bits of code. So for example, add words together from last episode. That could be imported from a package. I mean, it's a very small package, but that is something that you could import from somewhere else. Which would mean that you'd never have to write it in the first place. Someone's already done it for you. You just have to call add words together and it would work for you out of the box without you having to write anything. So you might be confused about what import means. You can see at the top of our file here, we're importing two things already. We're importing React, which is letting us write React code. And we're importing the app.css, which we fiddled with before. So how it's working is you're defining the imports at the top of your file, and that's saying grab me anything from these files and bring it into this file. So this is somewhat the equivalent of just having all of this stuff and copying it and pasting at the top of this file. In your project you'll have two different kind of imports. You'll have your node module imports, like React, and then you'll have imports from files that you've defined, like the CSS one. So the node module packages are third-party packages, ones that we install into our project. And React came into our project when we wrote create React app at the very beginning. So let's quickly go over a local import, something that you've defined yourself, in case the app.css example wasn't enough. What we're going to try and do is make this add words together come from its own file, and we'll import it into this file. So just to clean up before we start, we'll get rid of these two functions, get rid of these three lines from this function, and we'll just leave it as A space B. What we're going to do for now is just right-click source and click new file, which will add a new file into the source folder. We're going to call this file add words together, but then say full stop TS, which stands for TypeScript. So we're defining this file as a TypeScript file. So in our folder structure here you can see app.tsx, which is the main HTML view that we're using. Let's copy this function, add words together, and put it inside this new file that we just made. It's going to complain to begin with because we've said const, and const is a React term, but this file doesn't know that it's meant to be compiling in React. So if we go back to app and take this React line, copy it, and put it at the very top, now it knows to compile in React, and it will stop complaining. So now this function has its own file. We're going to have to export it so that it can be imported in different files. So if you define something as an export, that means that it can be imported from elsewhere. And to do that, we literally just type export at the beginning of the function. So now add words together is a function that can be imported. So let's go to app.tsx. So we can import in two ways. You can do it manually, or you can let VS Code do it for you. So if we import, open close brackets, so anything within the brackets is what you're importing from the file. So we want to import add words together, and then you say from quotations dot / add words together. So the reason the import looks like this with the brackets around it is because you can have multiple things exported from one file. Let's quickly give you an example of that. If I said down here export const A equals 1 and save that, I should be able to go here and say A. So now I can export add words together and A from add words together. After defining all the things that we want to import from that file, we're going to say where we're importing it from, and that's defined by this string. So this string here is just the file path. From this file you need to go this way to get to the file that I'm talking about. So if we hover over this, VS Code will tell us where exactly that is in our folder structure. And then if we save this and go to our web page, we've still got Hello World. The next thing to look at would be our third-party imports, similar to React at the top. So all of our third-party imports will live inside the node modules folder, but we don't ever touch these, we just import them and use them. So the package that we're going to install and import is called MaterialUI. So MaterialUI is a Bootstrap framework that has lots of nice designs for your HTML elements. So if we want to use this, we're going to have to first install it into our project. And we can do that by grabbing this install command, copying that, click this plus button to run a new terminal, and we'll paste it inside the terminal and then press enter. Now Node's going to do all of this stuff for us. It may take a while because it's going to be quite a big package. Now that the package is finished installing, all of the files and components and functions will be placed inside our Node modules folder. So we can import something from that package by following what it says on the website. So the first example that they have is import button. So let's try that. And let's also copy the code that they've got. We'll place that in our HTML, save it. If we go back to our web page, there's the button there. So you can see that that's clickable. And it has some effects that happen when you click it. Different colors show up. There's a slight hover effect that's quite hard to see. Now I believe that we can change bits of this, so let's change from primary to secondary. And the color's changed, the hover effect has changed, and when you click, the color's changed. So what I do now is go back to MaterialUI. Let's go explore the docs, scroll down to Component API, and have a look through all of these and just try using them. Let's have a look at card. Let's grab this import and see what it does. So the card here has added a border and a bit of shadow around the contents. So let's just try one more. If we pick chip, grab this import, copy it, place it in here, and then this one I believe we have to use this way. If we give it label of chip, let's see what that does. It creates a kind of standout effect, like it's a chip. So lastly here you can see that we're importing button, card and chip all from the same place. And like we talked about earlier, you can import multiple things from one place. So let's try and do that. Button, comma card, comma chip, and then we can get rid of these two lines. And now this should work exactly the same way. Again, it makes no difference, but it is much cleaner. So that's all for importing and exporting. So next episode we'll start looking at the input types that you can use in a website.